Coming up on No Pulp, the SEC full of highs, full of lows, and one quarterback might lose his job for a second time.
Ooh, plus, can a defensive player win the Heisman? And what Pac-12 team could possibly be hopping on the college football playoff radar?
And this guy is very, very high on an SEC team. Who might it be? We'll let you know. It's No Pulp. Let's ride.
Spikes. Sonny DeShero from Auburn. The freshman never win. The freshman never win championships.
Jeremy, you are an absolute square.
Cleveland the catch. Good if it goes. Oh, he hit it.
Wow, it is getting serious.
Frankly, I'm pretty embarrassed.
Bang!
All day life.
Welcome into No Pulp. That's Cameron Ezeir. I'm Nick Zelaya, here to cover all the college football action from this past weekend. And let's get right into it, Cam. First, probably the best game of the weekend. That was number 13 Miami and number 24 Texas A&M after Texas A&M lost to App State last week. Everything was in shambles, but they bounced back, winning 17-9. Is this Miami team in trouble? Do you think their new hire, Mario Cristobal, can really take the Hurricanes to that next level?
Not at all. Mario Cristobal hasn't been known to take any team to the next level. At Florida Atlantic, FIU, he pretty much did nothing for that program. On top of that, at Oregon, this is a guy that really didn't even revolutionize an Oregon team in a Pac-12 conference that is pretty weak. On top of the fact Miami scored just 9 points in this game, take it back to him at Oregon in 2019, they won the Rose Bowl. But who did he have? He had Justin Herbert. He didn't have Tyler Van Dyke, who's a sophomore and doesn't have a lot of experience under his belt. I don't think Mario Cristobal is ready for the big time, especially if he's not able to get it done against Texas A&M. That doesn't convince me that he's going to get it done against in-conference opponents like Clemson.
It's hard for me to disagree with you, Cam, because, Miami lost their two best receivers from last season, Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley Jr. And when you throw a guy like Tyler Van Dyke in there, so much pressure for playing in a tough ACC and the expectations this Miami team had going into the season, he just doesn't have the weapons to compete at a high level against these top-tier teams. And you're putting up 9 points, 3 field goals. They didn't even get a touchdown in a field goal. It was 3 field goals Miami scored. And this Texas A&M team, I'm a bit on the fence about them as well.
You?
Yeah, I know they've got the top recruiting class going into this year, but losing to App State, I know it's App State, and they got votes in the AP poll this week. But I don't know about Texas A&M.
See, Nick, the issue is you're going based off recency bias. I totally understand that Texas A&M might not be the team that finishes top 10 in the rankings, but they just switched quarterbacks. Max Johnson's more of a running quarterback. I say watch out for the Aggies, and not just the Aggies. I've talked a little bit about Oregon. How about out west with the Pac-12? This weekend provided a whole lot of Pac-12 heroics, and mainly, one team I want to point out, how about Washington getting it done against number 11 Michigan State? They were my standout Pac-12 team of the week, and I was really disappointed, not with Arizona State. You might be surprised with that, but I was really disappointed in the performance put up by Colorado.
Colorado, I agree with Washington that they were the best team. Michael Penix Jr., he came over from Indiana. Really good season last year with the Hoosiers, and he's been arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the country that's not being talked about enough. This team was up 29-8 over the number 11 team in the nation, Michigan State, at halftime. Penix Jr., Washington really hasn't been this fun to watch since 2018 when they went 10-3 that year. They had Myles Gaskin, they had Jake Browning, and the team that I really was not a fan of watching this weekend were the UCLA Bruins. And I know they beat South Alabama on a game-winning field goal, but it's embarrassing. They have yet to play a Pac-12 team this year, and they had so many expectations, especially with Dorian Thompson-Robinson coming for another year. He had a great season last year, and now he's here, only 600 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I expect more out of UCLA, and I expect the fans to show up too. Did you see pictures?
It was bad.
There was no one. They had a field goal. There wasn't a single soul in the stands.
USC has taken over Southern California. Nothing UCLA can do, but why keep harping on UCLA when they haven't played Pac-12 opponents? I am so glad that you were talking about Michael Penix and Washington. This is a team that has played so well. Penix, second in the country in yards. 4th in the country in touchdowns. I'm really impressed with Washington. I would say slow your roll on the UCLA slander.
The Huskies are legit, though.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The
I
Huskies
think so.
are absolutely
I think so.
legit. Well, let's get to one team that is legit, and that's the Georgia Bulldogs. And they beat up on South Carolina this past weekend, 48-7, just another blowout. They've done that 3 times in 3 games this week. What do you make of South Carolina's quarterback situation?
Oof.
Spencer Rattler, the head coach, had something to say, and it wasn't too good.
Give up in the locker room?
Hell no. What kind of questions that, Phil? We're 1-2. We're 1-2. We got a bunch of fighters in that room, and give up. That's not a part of this football program. Get out of here, man.
Well, giving up. I don't know about that. I mean, Spencer Rattler hasn't been good this year, and I'm sure this Gamecocks team and the fan base might give up on Spencer Rattler very soon.
There's a difference between intentionally giving up and unintentionally giving up, and right now South Carolina is unintentionally giving up. I think in the coming weeks there's going to be a lot of talk about how South Carolina players don't want to be there by the end of the season. I think a lot are going to hop in the transfer portal. I understand the defense was down 5 defensive starters, but Spencer Rattler, he has to throw out any excuses that he has. I get it. The offensive line isn't that great. Your receiving room, not the best. You're just not working with a lot, but let's understand that Georgia is unbelievable. This is the only team in the country that is top 15 in total offense and total defense. So maybe cut Spencer Rattler a little bit of slack, but in my opinion, come on, that guy got to go.
The only reason I think he keeps his job at South Carolina is because there's no other options. The backup is Luke Doughty, who's a junior. He was a 4-star coming in, but he really hasn't done anything spectacular. He had 6 starts last season, but didn't put too many great numbers up. It was different at Oklahoma when Caleb Williams was the backup. That was a top 10 player coming into college in the entire country. Makes a difference. But when we come back at No Pulp, we'll be joined by the one and only, that's Spencer Pierce. He'll join us on the Juicer to debate some more college football topics. We'll see if Cam and Spencer can battle it out. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Oh, welcome back to No Pulp, and it's Juicer time. That's Cameron Ezeir, and this is Spencer Pierce. It's an Ackerman reunion. I've got one quick question I want to propose, and I don't know if you guys have an answer to this, but where's Matt Zumbolo? To complete the fourth thing.
Let me guess. He's on the middle side of the couch.
Oh, okay. All right. They might not have the answer to that question, but hopefully you guys have some answers to these questions. Cam, I want to start with you here. Who are you most impressed with in college football this past week?
I'm picking a quarterback, and it's not C.J. Stroud. It's Bo Nix. Has better hair than Spencer Pierce, which is a lot to say. Bo Nix for the Oregon Ducks. He was unbelievable against a ranked BYU team that made Baylor the week before look foolish. Bo Nix, 13 for 18. You might say, well, he didn't have the best throwing day. It's because he knew when he had to throw, when he had to run. And over 70% completion percentage and a QBR over 90. This is a player that many college football plans were saying should be nixed after his poor performance against Georgia in week 1. Give me Bo Nix.
I get it, because his last name's Nix. I don't care. You're buttering me up with the hair comment. Don't care. It's Charlie Jones. You want to know how I know it's Charlie Jones? I'm sitting next to this guy at the football game. Checked his SportsCenter page, his ESPN page, about 3 or 4 times.
I was just doing research.
38% of the Purdue offense this week was run through him. 11 catches, 188 yards, a touchdown, 17 yards a reception, which, by the way, you might say that's not so good against potential first-round pick Garrett Williams. Give me Charlie Jones.
This is close here, but I might have to go with the player who helped his team win a game.
There we go.
Unbelievable. So, throw a point on the board for Cam. That's 1-0. Let's get into the next topic. And Spencer, I want to start with you on this one. The QB shuffling is always happening. Who is a quarterback you think that could potentially lose his job soon?
Don't take it from me. Take it from my opponent, Spencer Rattler. He's out the door. Now, I know USC's coach Shane Beamer said, hell no. I'm saying hell yeah. He ran from adversity at Oklahoma. Now he's getting outplayed by the punter, for God's sakes. He's tied 101st in the country with whopping two touchdowns, and he has 5 picks, which is 122nd in the nation. I could not name 121 better quarterbacks than Spencer Rattler 2 years ago when he was the chosen one, Cam.
Okay, let's be honest. As much as you want to say that, I'm picking a different Spencer. It's Spencer Petrus. You said 2 touchdowns for 3 Spencers. You said 2 touchdowns for Spencer Rattler. Give me 1 touchdown for Spencer Petrus, who's led his team to a total of 41 points through 3 games to start the season. Not to mention, he has an under 50% completion percentage throughout the first 3 games. You know where that ranks?
No, I don't.
You don't? Bottom 5 in all of Division I. And Iowa's head coach said before the Nevada game last weekend, well, we have to look at the film to know who's going to start. So Petrus is probably gone soon.
Lots of Spencers on the board.
Too many.
I'm going to go with Spencer Rattler.
Oh.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of Spencer Rattler. Bit overrated, but we'll talk about that later. Let's get to the next thing. We're talking QBs losing their job. Let's talk about head coaches losing their job a little bit. Cam, we've had a couple of firings already. Herm Edwards just lost his job at Arizona State. Scott Frost just lost his job at Nebraska. Who's up next?
It has to be Jeff Collins of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in the ACC. He's been abysmal. This Georgia Tech team is 1-2 over the first 3 games. They've been outscored 83-10 by ranked opponents throughout the first 3 games. That's in 2 of them. The other game was a win against Western Carolina. You want to know their mascot?
It's a good team.
The Catamounts, and Georgia Tech was tied with them after the first quarter. He's done nothing for Georgia Tech through his last 3 seasons, 9 wins. The previous 3 seasons for Georgia Tech. How many wins? 21! So you're telling me Jeff Collins entered this program and said, hey, screw it with wins. Let's lose a lot of games.
It's like golf. The lower you get, the better you are. And I know nothing about that. I'm going to tell you who's the next fire. Brian Harsey. You know what they're calling him at Auburn? The Harsonist. Because he is a criminal for what he did to this program. And he is a criminal for the absolute slaughtering that happened this past weekend. Unbelievable. On national television, they were absolutely killed. This past offseason, his defensive coordinator left to go to Oklahoma State and take less money, and his offensive coordinator left 6 weeks before the job was supposed to happen. So who gives a flying, rat's booty about Auburn? This is an awful guy. He should be out the door. You know what he said in his press conference? I can't control my job security. Yeah, you can.
That's not a good thing to say when you're a coach.
Okay.
But there's a difference. Auburn is in the SEC, and that's a really, really tough conference.
Exactly.
Georgia Tech is in the ACC.
Right.
That's a bad conference.
And they're bad in the bad conference.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm going to give you a point here, Cam.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give Georgia,
I thought I had to argue.
You get the point. No. You're going to take the lead and get the point. So it's 2-1, Cam, and Spencer, you're going to wrap things up in the final one.
Okay.
We're going into week 4 here.
Yeah.
Some teams are 3-0 that we're a bit shocked about, a bit surprised. Who's the team you're most shocked about being 3-0?
This guy's giggling. He already knows the answer. It's the Rock Chalk Kansas Jayhawks, baby. Tell me the last time Kansas was relevant.
When they won the national championship.
Before 2010, I was 8 years old. 2009, I was 8 years old. These Jayhawks have not won more than 3 games since that year, 2009. They have teams fighting each other. Literally, Houston had a player come off to the sideline and get in a fight. They won by double digits because a guy named Kobe Bryant had a pick 6. They won in double digits in overtime. It's unbelievable. It all starts with Jalen Daniels, who won Walter Camp National Offensive Player of the Year. Lance Leipold, he's doing magic in Lawrence.
Come on. Nick, Tennessee Tech, West Virginia, who's fall off a roof?
Houston.
Come on. Houston, okay, Houston was good. But
Surely they weren't in a bowl game recently.
No, ridiculous. I'm not going Houston. I'm not going West Virginia. I'm going Penn State, the Fighting Nittany Lions. You might say, hey, wait, this is a Penn State team. Weren't they ranked just a couple of years ago? Didn't they have Saquon Barkley? Isn't this a pretty good team? Penn State over the last 2 seasons, 11-11. No receiver has above 170 yards in the air, and guess what? Guess who their quarterback is? It's still Big Bad Red Clifford. Sean Clifford is still there, and they beat a Purdue team that had a blackout game. It was ridiculous. It was hysterical. Everyone was going crazy. Penn State still won that game, and they beat Auburn on the road. They beat Purdue on the road. 2 teams that probably went into that game thinking, okay, we're going to upset a Penn State team.
Penn State at 500, 11-11, guarantee at Kansas, not even close to 200.
They won the basketball national championship.
They did. People forget.
So I now have to make a decision about who may win the game. You have a big lead already. You could come back and lead this. There is a deciding factor for this.
Why are you
was it where Matt Zumbolo was? Because I already lost that.
He mentioned the name Kobe Bryant for the Kansas Jayhawks.
Oh, come on.
This team has been arguably a bottom 5 team in all of college football for the last decade. They are 3-0 right now. They'll be 3-1 after this weekend against Duke.
Penn State's 3-0 as well.
They're ranked, though. They're ranked right now.
Okay, and they weren't ranked before.
Ranked. The point will be for Spencer and the Kansas Jayhawks. Spencer will take the juicer. Thanks to the Kansas Jayhawks.
That's ridiculous.
How did Jameis
How am I going to do the rest of the show with this? How am I going to do the rest of the show with this guy?
You want to bite this W? That'll wrap up the juicer. Coming up on No Pulp, Cam and I will talk a bit more college football action. We'll talk touchdown or turnover. We'll get a bit into that after the break.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where do cats go on vacation? New York.
Welcome back into our CitrusTV studio for No Pulp. He's Nick Zelaya. I'm Cameron Ezeir. If you watched the last segment, you'll realize that I'm struggling to do the rest of the show with Nick because Spencer Pierce won the juicer. But here, we got another game for you. It's called Touchdown or Turnover. I know you love this little backdrop that we have here. I'm going to throw out a statement. Touchdown if you like it, turnover if you don't. Sounds good?
Get me started.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Michigan going undefeated in the Big Ten. You can tell by my tone. What? Are you kidding? Okay, I understand. Michigan's a really good team. The Wolverines sport a 2-quarterback system with J.J. McCarthy, Cade McNamara. I understand that those two could be potent moving forward, as well as they have a good running back in Blake Corum, and maybe they can shuffle around the wide receiving room. What you have to understand is they have Penn State at home later in the year, as well as Ohio State, who I think is one of the best teams in the country. They're top 3 right now. I think that Ohio State will beat them in Ohio, and Give me Ohio State taking down Michigan, and that is the reason that this is a turnover. I'm fumbling it everywhere. I'm throwing the ball away, and I'm never picking it up. I don't think Michigan's going undefeated.
You know, a big reason Ohio State will beat Michigan, and also, look at that right behind you.
Oh, goodness.
For a turnover.
They couldn't have picked
the
a better
reason
one?
Ohio State will beat Michigan is because of C.J. Stroud, the best quarterback in the nation. Touchdown for me as C.J. Stroud, the best quarterback in the country. It's not even close. He's a projected #1 NFL draft pick this upcoming year, and he's proved last season, he proved this year so far that he's legit. In 7 games in his career at Ohio State versus ranked opponents, he's thrown for 2,400 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 2 picks. 4 of those opponents have been top 10 in the country. This guy can do it whether it's in Toledo like this past weekend or it's in the Rose Bowl against a really good Utah team like he did last year, throwing for 6 touchdowns. C.J. Stroud is a legit college player. He's going to lead Ohio State very far this season. He's the best quarterback in the nation. It's not close.
I want to disagree with you, but yes, he is the best quarterback. I mean, he just had 5 touchdowns against Toledo in 3 quarters.
And they scored 77 points.
And remember, a lot of people are saying, okay, it's an upset-heavy season, and C.J. Stroud says, hey, that's in the back of my mind. Next topic is, Nick, your face looking beautiful up there in the touchdown zone.
Look at that.
That's 7 points for you, maybe 0 for me if I go another turnover. Will Anderson Jr., the defensive player for Alabama, winning the Heisman, would be the first defensive player since Charles Woodson in 1997 to win the Heisman Trophy. Instead of fumbling it, I'm throwing a pick to Charles Woodson. No way, Jose. Put my face back up there in the turnover column. Will Anderson is not winning the Heisman. Big reason why. It's the year of quarterbacks. It's really just been the decade and the couple of decades of quarterbacks winning the Heisman. C.J. Stroud, like you mentioned, a little over 1,000 yards through 3 games, 11 touchdowns, the highest completion percentage of his career. And I get it. Will Anderson's a really special player. Had 100 total tackles last year, 17.5 sacks, and guess where he finished? He finished 5th in Heisman voting. Charles Woodson, when he won it back in 1997, had 7 interceptions, also returned kicks, and caught a few passes. I think that Will Anderson will have to channel a little Shohei Ohtani and play on the offensive side of the ball to get some Heisman recognition. So, no, I'm throwing a pick, and as Charles Woodson did 7 times in 1997, turn over me.
While Will Anderson may not be getting a Heisman Award, he'll definitely be playing in the college football playoffs.
Oh, yeah,
and
I agree.
I think a majority of people can probably agree 3 teams, Ohio State, Bama, and Georgia, are in the college football playoffs. But who's that 4th team? Will it be the USC Trojans?
No.
It absolutely will be. We're calling it a touchdown, baby. Throw my face there. There we go. USC Trojans are coming back. They will make the college football playoffs. Last year I said Oregon will represent the Pac-12 in the college football playoffs.
And you were wrong.
I was a bit wrong on that. A few weeks ago I said the USC Trojans will be back in the college football playoffs for the first time ever. And it's just, this team is so good. They're led by Caleb Williams, who has had such a star season this year. They're 3-0. They've just beaten up on teams all year. Jordan Addison has continued to improve, coming over from Pittsburgh, that he's one of the best wide receivers in the nation. They still get to play at Utah. That could be a huge win. Their last game would be at home against Notre Dame, and I know Notre Dame has had a tough season so far this year, but if they can pick things up and then USC can be at home and murder Notre Dame, go into the Pac-12 championship, win that, finish 13-0. I don't know how you leave out the Trojans.
Awful take and keep Nick's face up there. We're gonna bring it. Come on, we gotta take Jordan Addison's car that he got in his NIL deal, and we're taking it. We're moving it to the turnover section. Awful take. He was wrong about Oregon. He's gonna be wrong about USC. Okay, Caleb Williams can sustain during non-conference play and beating Stanford. That's it. I don't think it's happening.
Caleb Williams is gonna see this a lot this year. Not my face, the touchdown. Jordan Addison's going to see it a lot this year. The Trojans are going to see a whole lot of touchdowns this season. And it'll lead them to the college football playoffs.
They'll be top 10 and they'll lose to a bad Pac-12 team. That always happens.
We'll wrap up No Pulp here. When we come back, we'll check out our top plays of the week. Plus, Cam and I will give our final words on this past week's games. Don't go anywhere.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah. Hey Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Jason, let's go see your room.
Wrapping up things here on No Pulp. That's Cameron Ezeir. I'm Nick Zelaya. The favorite part for college football for me is always the top plays. And I love seeing them on Instagram and Twitter all the time. I saw a few plays this week that wowed me.
I need to know one of them.
You start. You give me your first
Okay,
play.
I'll
you
start.
start with them.
How about a little Hail Mary action after College game day? App State a Hail Mary against Troy. The Troy Trojans go home really sad. Watch this one. Chase Bryce, he says, bye Duke, bye Clemson, a transfer from both of those schools. Hello deflection right into the arms of Christian Horn. Takes it into the end zone. Student radio, TV, they all said, oh, that one's a bit too short. Nope, it's not a bit too short. It's perfectly short and a miracle in Boone. Shout out Boone for being the best college town in terms of college football in the nation.
All right, that was a pretty cool play, Cam. I'm not going to lie there. But for me, I had a specific touchdown catch, and we'll go to Mississippi State and LSU. Throw it up there real quick. Now, this guy has a pretty sick name, Ra Thomas, and this is a pretty sick catch. Oh! Mossing the LSU defender. He goes up there with two hands and has to hold on. Do you realize how big your hands have to be to grip that football and keep it in your hand?
His name's Ra, so it makes sense.
It's ridiculous. Look at that athleticism.
What, are we looking
awesome.
at our hands?
I love SEC football.
I
love SEC football. One game in the SEC conference this week that I'm really pumped about. That's number 20 Florida and number 11 Tennessee, and that's our No Pulp game of the week.
Yep, Tennessee, how about this? The Tennessee Volunteers are a stout team. This is a team that's top 3 in total yardage in the country, and they're taking on a Florida team that just had their starting quarterback, Anthony Richardson, throw 4 picks in one game. I have a lot of confidence in Tennessee. They have an explosive offense behind Hendon Hooker, 8 touchdowns this season. I love Tennessee. With Florida, just think they're too young. I don't think that they're going to enter Rocky Top and take down the big, bad, old Tennessee Volunteers.
So even though Florida's won 16 in the last 17 games, Tennessee?
Yeah, it's Tennessee.
I'll go with Tennessee, too.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, that was a bad statistic.
I'll go with Tennessee, too. Well, let's wrap up, though, with our final words. And I got to talk a bit about the Blue Bloods. And no, it's not Bama. It's not Georgia. The college basketball Blue Bloods. That's UCLA, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, and Kansas. They're all 3-0 for the first time ever in college football history. It's ridiculous what these teams are doing. They've won 41% of the basketball championships. Kansas deserves to go first. 3-0 for the first time since 2009. They have lost 8 or more games every year since 2010. They're 3-0. Duke hasn't had a winning season since Danny Dimes left. Their new coach, now 3-0. UCLA is trying to make a bowl game for the first time since 2017. 3-0. North Carolina, pretty rich football history. Since they hired Mac Brown in 2019, 3-0. And let's wrap up with Kentucky. They won 10 games last year and are now the number 9 team in the country. They're 3-0. Shout out to the Blue Bloods.
I think that Nick missed the memo. This is football. This isn't basketball. And I talked a little bit about Tennessee. They're taking on Florida. Tennessee, they are legit. Stop overlooking them. I understand Georgia and Alabama will be your top 2 teams in the SEC, but I already mentioned his name. Hendon Hooker has those amount of touchdowns, 844 yards, 70% completion percentage. He's top 5 in passing efficiency in the entire nation. He has a stout running back in Jalen Wright with 231 yards on the ground and 3 tutties. Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman, both over 17 receptions for 240 yards. You know what that tells me? That tells me that they have a deep wide receiving room, they have a great running back, and they have an even better quarterback for a team that has scored a whopping 156 points through 3 games. Give me Tennessee. They're legit, folks.
All right, so a big volunteer guy right here.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Shout out Kansas Duke this weekend. The battle of who will go 4-0.
Yeah, hey.
We'll find out. Thanks for joining us tonight on No Pulp. That's Cameron Ezeir. I'm Nick Zelaya. Make sure you follow us across social media platforms at CitrusTV Sports. Have a great night.